last week, the Kentucky House voted 90-7 to cut the state's income tax from 4% to 3.5%. The full Senate will take up the bill when the Kentucky General Assembly returns to Frankfort in February. Some want to eliminate the state income tax altogether. Monday on Kentucky Tonight, we talked about whether the current bill is a good idea, what the future holds, and what the state would need to do to make up lost tax revenue.
I have spoken on many occasions about the prudence of what we're doing and how it's been recognized even by the rating agencies, which even the governor called out how much the rating agencies are looking at us. And one of the bullet points is we are doing responsible reduction in our income tax.
Kentucky won't be a Kansas.
No. And see, we put those mechanisms in what people say, well, you just cut it based on a factor of revenue growth. No, there's two other things in there. One, you have to have at least a 10% budget reserve trust fund of what your overall generated revenues are. So that's trigger number one. But then there's a delta that you can never cut to where we would put ourselves in a place of being at deficits.
Yes, right now and in this moment, going to 3.5 allows Kentuckians to have money in their pockets. But when you look at the states that we compare ourselves to, Texas, Tennessee, and Florida, those three states have alternate sources of revenue that just come into the state. And I'd like to say, we're not Texas, we don't have oil, we're not Tennessee, we don't have country music or Dolly, and we certainly are not Florida, and we don't have Mickey. So if you go down to zero, and today we can't pay for the things we need to pay for, how will people get the basics, education, food, those type of things that they rely on the government for? And the last thing I'll say about that is taxes serve the common good. No one family can build a road. No one family can build an education system. That's why we have a government.
I also want to go back to Pam's comments about if we get to zero without a huge influx of new dollars. That statement in and of itself is not possible, because if we don't have a huge influx of new dollars, we will never meet the triggers to get us to zero. So we're going to have to continue to grow those revenues because our expenses continue to grow beyond our control in many areas, like Medicaid, pensions continue to skyrocket.
If you go to zero, then that means that those monies, at least theoretically and maybe as a reality, will not be there to continue services at the level that we're doing them now, or there are those that are saying that we've already underfunded some aspects, for instance, in areas of education, et cetera, and why are we not investing in these things? And that's a discussion we can get into. But the fact of the matter is if you go to zero, those funds are no longer there. You're going to either have to use what you have, what we used to call a budget reserve fund, but my point is that either you're going to cut services down or you're going to find another source of income. And that suggests to me, in looking at history, that you're looking at revenues that come from sales tax, for instance. There are other mechanisms. So, I mean, you look at Tennessee, that's what Tennessee did to a degree from my observation. And what do? On that border now, they come over to Kentucky to get a better shake on sales tax, for instance. So we're going to either cut services, or are we going to find another source of income to take care of those things and maintain state services that we need and/or we expect?
On Monday night, those legislative leaders also talked about possible exceptions to Kentucky's near total abortion ban, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, in higher ed, homelessness in Kentucky, and more. And you can see the entire hour-long conversation online on demand at ket.org/KY Tonight.